Please forgive me if my voice sounds a little bit scratchy. 1 hour ago I was singing karaoke. No, I'm not making that up. I was singing Golden Years by David Bowie. When I first bought Half-Life 2, I had certain expectations as I knew a little bit about the game ahead of time. But I had no idea there were going to be lengthy sequences in the game in which we piloted a vehicle, let alone two. When I first heard Alex on the radio say the word airboat, I knew things were going to get real exciting real fast. I felt a little let down when I first saw the airboat, as it looks very much like one of those swamp boats that people in Florida drive around in when they're poaching alligators. I guess. It definitely looks like it was built from parts found in a junkyard, but this is certainly in keeping in line with the Resistance's knack for resourcefulness. It was awfully nice of this woman to gas it up for us. I wish she'd at least let me give her a lift to the old red barn, as everyone here at the toxic refugee camp is now a zombie or simply dead. We do get a chance to test drive the airboat and get the hang of its unique qualities in a sort of arena-like area, which is full of jumps and obstacles in areas of both land and water, though I use the term water lightly here, as you can see it's more of a toxic smoothie than actual water. I wish there was a tyre to kick, but I guess I'll just whack it with the crowbar. Now, not only does the airboat make for really nifty transportation, but of course you can use it as a weapon as well, in this case running over any of the filth who are foolish enough to get in our way, or else knocking out the various platforms from underneath them, spilling them directly into the toxic soup, and I bet those gas masks they wear don't protect them from that yellow sludge. In the water hazard chapter, we really begin to notice for the first time that the overall water level has decreased, often dramatically, from what it used to be. Everywhere we see the telltale signs of this, especially in the abandoned ships that now lie high and dry on the floor of the canals they once navigated. It makes me wonder if the Combine are doing something with the Earth's water supply, or just the climate in general. Either way, there's something a little unsettling about it, and it creates a definite sensation of something being very, very wrong. My second favourite part of Water Hazard is a sequence I simply called the Gauntlet. It occurs after the first police garrison, in which you must use, of all things, exploding barrels to keep going, and my, what a coincidence that they were just in the right place to destroy that wooden tower, sending the big metal I-beam crashing through the doors of the lock. You're kept quite busy as you run the gauntlet, trying to dodge both the Phil's gunfire and the target acquiring rockets from the APCs. It's all, very exciting. The airboat allows you to look around freely, separately from the movement of the airboat itself, which can be useful, but is certainly a good test of the player's hand-eye coordination. Now, the gauntlet is also the first time we see the filth trying to stop us with flammable materials, not just the exploding barrels themselves. Now, that really must be considered chemical warfare, though I doubt the Combine even read the Geneva Convention, let alone ratified it. Now, my favourite part of Water Hazard is the helicopter chase after you assault the second police garrison. As I've stated elsewhere, I'm from the arcade game generation, and I grew up when arcade games were in their heyday. Now, I mention this because the helicopter chasing you in Water Hazard for me has some rather hilarious, exciting, and none too subtle resemblances to the old arcade game Spy Hunter. There were fewer things more annoying in Spy Hunter than that blasted helicopter flying just in front of your car boat, dropping lit sticks of dynamite on you. To see that old motif now brought to life nearly 20 years later, in 3 dimensions, within Half-Life 2's astonishing graphics, is a real treat for me. Now, the technology may have increased, but the bloody helicopter is still every bit as annoying. It's really quite wonderful. It's a pity we can't just pull the airboat into a moving truck to get some rockets to shoot the damn thing down. Well, any port in a storm, I suppose, and nowhere along your airboat journey does this seem truer than at this particular resistance camp with a man and woman that I call the odd couple. I can't quite place my hands on why, but both of these people seem very traumatized. They're both very much on edge, and they're in an even bigger hurry than most people to get Gordon sorted and get him the hell out of there. Now, the woman flatly tells us that they are indeed breaking camp before the Combine arrive, but nonetheless both of their movements seem exceedingly slow, and there are long, uncomfortable pauses between their bits of dialogue. This leads me to believe that they are either terrified of Gordon, or they hate him. The only dependable chap in this whole bunch is the Vortigaunt, who is not only glad to see us, but equips our airboat with the Combine's version of a heavy machine gun. The Vortigaunt as well is happy to simply talk to us for ages, as anyone who repeatedly presses the use key at him knows. Now, I know that there's a book out there about Half-Life 2 called Raising the Bar, but I do not own it, nor have I read it, so I know nothing about what this and other Vortigaunts are reciting to us, beginning with the line, "We remember the Freemen." However, this epic poem, they tell us, is really an unusual and fascinating departure from the normal pace of the game, and I wonder if this was actually written for the game, or if this was something improvised by Louis Gossett Jr., who of course did the voices for the Vortigaunts. But this much I do know for certain: if you hang around chatting with the Vortigaunt all day, the odd couple gets really upset.
Get going, Doc. We've got to break camp.
Get going, Doc. We gotta break camp.
Get going, Dr. Freeman. I can see Eli was right about you.
Let's get a move on. We gotta clear out before they target us.
Well, somebody's got to be in their bonnet. Well, I suppose I shouldn't be so hard on those two. For one thing, they may be genuinely upset about Gordon leading the Combine right to their doorstep, and two, they did provide us with a free and rather devastating upgrade to our airboat, without which we would certainly not have made it very far. Now, the man said this gun came off one of the Combine's helicopters, but it looks far less like one of those than it does one of the mounted guns we saw earlier in the control tower at the locks at the 2nd Police Garrison. However, what the gun lacks in origin and accuracy, it more than makes up for in rate of fire and the spread of... well, I don't really want to call those projectiles, but you know what I'm talking about. And again, using the mouse to control the aim of the gun with the right hand, and then controlling the airboat with your left, and trying to watch both things at once is a delightful exercise in coordination. The rest of Water Hazard is an almost incessant boat race / shooting spree with the exception of one place. There's a sort of flood canal off to the right of the main canal, and I've always found this area very intriguing. For one thing, it's very peaceful amidst all the shooting that was taking place immediately before. You can hear wind chimes and the windmill spin slowly above. And the second thing is that even a cursory look around makes it obvious that this was once the habitation of either refugees or resistance members, but that one of the Combine's headcrab artillery shells landed here and turned what must have been the resident into the zombie we just shot. There's even an old bicycle, though God knows where they would have ridden it within the canals. And taken together, these sort of possessions of the people who are now most certainly dead, who once dwelled here, I think, to me, are a very poignant reminder of the struggle against the Combine. Our final showdown with the Combine helicopter takes place in the now mostly dried-up lake behind the hydroelectric dam. And by now I think we're meant to assume that it's in the evening and the sun is going down, creating some rather spectacular scenery. The deep violet of the sky is a great contrast to the reddish-brown earth of the lake bed. However, we didn't come this far to merely look at the scenery. Now, I think it's conceivable to think that we've been encountering the same helicopter over and over again, and that it has simply been going back for repairs each time we've nearly shot it out of the sky, but not quite. Then again, this helicopter behaves in ways the others did not. For instance, there are moments when it drops hundreds of these rather large, bulky, and not especially powerful mines, and I'm left to wonder how in the world that tiny, slender helicopter can hold so many of those huge things. Do you see what I mean about the Combine having inefficient weaponry? The real challenge in this final battle is not shooting the helicopter down, I think, but doing so without running into the many exploding barrels that littered the lake. Now, you may have noticed by now that my airboat gun has a bit more ammunition available than normal. Well, what can I say? That's just the way Dr. Freeman rolls.